More than 100 Palestinians were killed in Israeli strikes across Gaza. Israeli attacks also extended to southern Lebanon despite an existing truce.
A military parade for the U.S. Army's 250th birthday next month happens to also fall on Donald Trump's birthday, raising eyebrows among critics.
At least 107 Palestinians were killed in strikes across Gaza as Israel pressed ahead with its new military offensive. Large plumes of smoke could be seen billowing above Gaza City in the north of the enclave, the site of multiple attacks. Palestinian health officials say Israeli strikes targeted Al-Auda Hospital, one of the two functioning hospitals in the north. Hospital staff say the strikes caused fires and extensive damage to buildings, infrastructure, and water tanks. Israel says it was operating near the hospital, but denied responsibility for the attack and says a probe into the fires was launched. Meanwhile, the UN says that it has distributed the contents of 98 trucks of the 200 that had arrived in Gaza to residents. The remaining trucks have yet to reach distribution centers, as the UN says the new Israeli security process to release trucks is hindering efforts. Spokesperson Stefan Diarich says the quantity of aid in Gaza is nowhere near enough to satisfy the needs of the population. The Israeli military agency charged with overseeing aid operations, Kogat, says that according to their own studies there is no shortage of food. Israeli strikes also extended to southern Lebanon on Thursday. Lebanese state-run media reported that several locations along the border were struck. Israel says it targeted buildings and facilities belonging to Hezbollah in a bid to prevent the group from rearming. Lebanon's Prime Minister Nawaf Salam condemned the attacks and called on the international community to pressure Israel into respecting the existing ceasefire agreement. Lebanon and Israel signed a deal in November to end cross-border attacks. Beirut says Israel has been conducting daily attacks since, violating the truce.
The man arrested as the lone suspect in the fatal shooting of two Israeli embassy employees was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Prosecutors said additional charges are likely as they investigate the incident as both a hate crime and an act of terrorism. After his arrest, the man told police, "I did it for Palestine, I did it for Gaza," according to the US federal authorities. The attack comes as Israel has launched a new campaign targeting Hamas in the Gaza Strip.
Ukraine has submitted a list of prisoners of war to the Russians for a prisoner swap in a 1,000 for 1,000 format. Volodymyr Labuzov, the defender of Mariupol, spent almost 10 months in Russian captivity in 2022. He told Euronews he hopes that the exchange will be possible, but also that Ukrainian civilians will return home too.
Російська Федерація захопила в полон не лише військовослужбовців, не лише воїнів, захисників, а також і цивільних громадян, зокрема і дуже багато дітей були депортовані в Росію з окупованих територій, і які мають бути повернуті без жодних умов, без жодних домовленостей. Тому так, 1000 на 1000 – це добре, але це добре, якщо це виключно буде стосуватися військовослужбовців.
Ukrainian Prosecutor General stated that 9 out of 10 Ukrainian prisoners of war are subjected to torture and abuse in Russian captivity. Volodymyr was tortured in Russian prisons as well. He's calling for Europe to increase pressure on Russia to return all Ukrainian prisoners and says the West does not fully comprehend Russia's intentions in its war against Ukraine.
Під час мого перебування в полоні, під час одного з допитів, ці кати, які проводили допитувальні дії наді мною, вони пропонували співпрацю. Мета була одна – приєднуйся до нас і разом підемо захоплювати Європу. 90% військовополонених отримують таку пропозицію, але у відкриту ці кати говорять – переходь до нас, звільняємо Україну, йдемо далі на Європу.
Germany, once the world market leader, today the sick man of Europe. Electricity prices are exploding, steel giants have temporarily shut down production to survive. Other companies are fleeing and relocating their production to Eastern Europe, China, and out of Germany. Entire industries are struggling, especially the automotive industry. Volkswagen, Mercedes, and BMW are cutting thousands of jobs. Made in Germany has become too expensive.
Bei energieintensiven Branchen wie Stahl und andere, würde ich sagen, haben wir noch 24 Monate Zeit.
One of the biggest problems, energy costs. The new Minister of Economic Affairs, Katharina Reiche, is also aware of this. She wants to subsidize industrial electricity with the state, but the EU is threatening not to participate. Reiche also wants new gas-fired power plants, but gas prices are higher than ever. Does the minister have the right formula to save the German economy?
Wer glaubt, dass die erneuerbaren Energien in Kombination mit Gaskraftwerken zu billigem Strom führen, der lebt in einer Traumwelt, weil die Leute, also viele blicken dann immer nur auf die Kosten quasi an der Solarzelle, am Windrad. Und vor dem Hintergrund ist Frau Reiches, mindestens im Stand heute Politik, eigentlich die Fortsetzung der Politik von Robert Habeck. Und die ist aber nicht geeignet, ein Industrieland wie Deutschland nachhaltig und günstig mit Energie zu versorgen. Ich persönlich nach der Meinung fragen, was ich machen würde. Ich hätte selbstverständlich zum einen den Atomausstieg nicht so vollzogen und würde jetzt alles daran setzen, den Atomausstieg wieder rückgängig zu machen, indem ich die alten Kraftwerke wieder reaktiviere.
Also mit Gaskraftwerken alleine senkt man den Strompreis nicht ab. Die sind sehr teuer im Betrieb, das Gas ist teuer und dann kommen dann noch die CO2-Kosten obendrauf. Also das würde bedeuten, dass man so langfristig dauerhaft zwischen 150 und 200, also 15 und 20 Cent pro Kilowattstunde Erzeugerpreise in Deutschland hätte. Das ist zu teuer. Damit wird man nicht wettbewerbsfähig. Und tatsächlich eine Angebotsausweitung ist das Einzige, was gegen eine Energiekrise hilft. Und das besteht eben aus der Rückholung der deutschen Kernkraftwerke, aus einer heimischen Produktion von Erdgas und aus CCS, das ist die CO2-Abscheidung von Kohlekraftwerken. Wir haben für 200 Jahre Kohle, das wäre also im Interesse der nationalen Sicherheit, wäre es optimal, die Kohle weiter zu nutzen, aber dann eben mit den entsprechenden Filtern.
In any case, lights are already going out in companies. In 2024, Germany lost almost 200,000 companies, a record which will continue into 2025. The 1,626 bankruptcies in April alone surpass figures from the 2008 global financial crisis. Germany is still the third largest economy in the world, but the future is not looking so bright.
As the African Union and the European Union foreign ministers pledge to boost cooperation on security and the economy, Botswana has called for Brussels to lead more strategic investments in the country. Speaking to Euronews, Botswana's Foreign Minister, Penyo Butale, said his country is open for business.
Botswana has been enjoying excellent relations with the EU, and we believe that there is room for us and Europe and Belgium to reimagine these relations and ensure that we improve our trade and ensure that Botswana and Europe benefit mutually from this relationship.
Butale's call for more trade and investment with the EU comes amid a 37% trade tariff imposed by the Trump administration on Botswana, one of the hardest hit nations in Africa. The country's economy, which is reliant on diamond exports, contracted last year by 3.1% due to weak global demand. Once regarded as one of the world's fastest-growing economies, Botswana is, however, optimistic after a forecast suggests an expected 3.3% growth this year. Confronted by the Trump administration's trade tariffs, the world's leading producer of diamonds wants to deepen bilateral trade and strategic partnership with the European Union. Jerry Fisaya-Bambi for Euronews.
Hi, I'm Stefan Grobe. You know, sometimes history creates those moments that appear too surreal to be true. In the United States, next June 14th is set to be one of those. It's the day the U.S. Army celebrates its 250th birthday, a historic event worth remembering 1 year before the 13 colonies declared their independence. June 14th is also President Donald Trump's 79th birthday. You see where this is going. 2 birthdays and 1 opportunity for Trump's long-held desire to stage a military parade in the streets of Washington. Trump caught the parade bug during his first term, when French President Emmanuel Macron invited him to the traditional Bastille Day parade in Paris in 2017. Now Trump wants a big one himself, for himself. According to official planning documents, the twin celebration includes almost 7,000 soldiers, more than 120 military vehicles, 25 Abrams tanks, and 50 helicopters. Now, experts are worried that these tanks will tear up the streets and damage bridges. Washington's infrastructure is not designed to support heavy military stuff, they say. And the mayor of the District of Columbia didn't outright reject the parade, but she said if military tanks were used, they should be accompanied with many millions of dollars to repair the roads. By the way, money? No problem. Cost estimates run in the tens of millions of dollars. Nobody has an exact idea yet. This at a time when Trump and his Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE and run by Elon Musk, have slashed federal agencies' personnel and programs to crack down on waste. Meanwhile, opposition to Trump's military parade is growing. Thus far, in more than 100 locations across the United States, a coalition of groups is organizing a nationwide day of protests. They call the parade a spectacle more suited for kings and dictators, not U.S. presidents. So it's going to be no King's Day. One late-night comedian joked, parade organizers should consider including America's most dangerous weapon, a self-driving Tesla. Thanks for watching. See you soon.